Hey, before we start, this website took me hundreds of hours to create. I'm very proud of it. It's called portraitartacademy.com. And yes, you can get access to hundreds of videos, ebooks, an online community with useful and entertaining information about art, techniques, and skills. So it's very useful, so you can learn lots of useful things. You just used the word useful twice or 3 times in the same sentence. I know. I need to work on my intros. I can help. You helping would only make it worse. Oh yeah? Your face on the channel will make the people click away from the video. Sacre bleu, I have a beautiful face. Guys.
In the Pacific Ocean lies a group of islands that has been the home to one of the most productive, inventive nations on Earth. Japanese history goes back to hundreds or even perhaps thousands of years BC, of which time period some nomadic pieces of art have been preserved in the form of pottery and figurines. Later artworks consisted of pieces from time periods such as the Asuka and Nara times, the Heian time period, the Azuchi Momoyama period in the 1500s, and the Edo time period from 1603 to 1867.
It wasn't uncommon to paint women with those bleak faces, or Mount Fuji, which is such a gigantic volcanic mountain in Japan. And we cannot forget that during these times, feudal lords, samurai, and ninjas roamed the islands of Japan, with heavy battles being fought over various pieces of lands and castles. Oh, I played ninjas in video games. I heard of them. Yeah, there have been a lot of wars in Japan, and sometimes those wars would spill over to Korea, the Korean Peninsula, and revenge, honor, loyalty, and paying tribute to ancestors were common themes, as well as just the human tendency to try to get your hands on whatever you could take. Whether it be lands, towns, riches, women, food, or even weapons. Yeah, and that attitude was there during World War II too. When the American troops fought the Japanese on Okinawa and on the coast, Pearl Harbor, they thought some of those Japanese soldiers were crazy, committing suicide and rather dying for the emperor than surrendering. Yes, I've read a lot about the Japanese side of World War II, and it's true. Their loyalty was a shock to the colonial powers. Nobody expected the Japanese to be so vicious and loyal to their country. It's still a little bit that way, isn't it? I mean, maybe not in war because the country's at peace, but the entire culture being all about loyalty and honor. I heard that a friend of mine who lives there say that one time he couldn't finish his noodles and the cook started to cry because not eating them would feel like dishonoring his skill and that he had failed him. Many people there work very hard and they take pride in their work. It's no coincidence therefore that some of the best tech companies and vehicle firms are from Japan. And that the economy is thriving. Okay, that's all very interesting, but can we go back to art history now? I mean, like hearing more about the culture and the war, but I'd like to know more about art from Japan. Of course, sorry, we just got distracted. I always get distracted, except for when I'm shooting a rabbit. Then I'm highly focused. I can smell them from 1 mile away. Those pesky rabbits.
No painting from the Edo time period has become more famous than the Great Wave of Kanagawa. The woodblock print displays 3 boats in a storm with Mount Fuji in the background. It was created by the Japanese artist Hokusai, who had become known for paintings and prints about waves, Mount Fuji, and people.
What was so typical about this wave was that Hokusai used a Prussian blue, which revolutionized Japanese printmaking at the time. The composition with the wave covering 1/3 of the image and following the rule of thirds was truly inspiring, even to European impressionists. There are some references in the composition that refer to Shintoism, in which nature is all-powerful, and Buddhism, which promotes the yin-yang balance. And here you can see that the big, powerful wave contrasts the serenity of the background. I can see that. I like it.
Other Japanese art forms have been embraced in modern culture as well. One of those arts is origami.
The word origami literally means to fold paper, which is exactly what it does.
Dating all the way back to the Edo period from the 1600s to the 1800s, origami is often looked at from different perspectives.
Some people say you can cut and you can use glue. Others say that you should only use paper and get to the end result with the paper in its purest form. Well, cutting and gluing would be a form of cheating, right? Yeah, it definitely depends on how you look at it.
Although various forms have been created, none of them have become as well known as the paper crane.
The paper crane is the most famous one, hands down. I think I even made that one a while ago. It's pretty fun.
Another stylistic object stemming from Japanese culture is the folding screen, a simple but effective way to separate rooms or spaces. Being called byobu in Japanese, it originated actually from China, according to researchers, and was brought over to Japan during the 8th century AD. In modern times, another art wave has swept the world off its feet by creating a style and spreading it everywhere. We are talking about the art of manga and anime.
Hold on. What's the difference between manga and anime? Manga is comic books and the anime is animated series and cartoons on TV. It is that simple, huh? Yep, there is nothing else to it. Ha!
Anime would become a popular style, creating masterworks that would compete in the cartoon industry with Hollywood movies and the like. Manga would become an entire culture of its own. The industry has created more than $12 billion domestically, and the forecast is that it will reach 4 times as much in the next decade or so every year, having sold about 580 billion manga comics or magazines per year since the early 2000s.
Wow, that is huge. It is quite the industry. Everyone buys it over there. I didn't know it was so profitable. I mean, that's insane. Do really that many kids read manga? Not just kids, even teenagers, old people, adults, everybody does it. It's just culture there. And there are many manga comic books that are too violent, too scary, too sexually explicit, or complicated for kids. So therefore, they are targeted at adults. That's nuts! I mean, I've heard of that style, but I didn't know it was that big. It is in Japan. I mean, it's in some other countries too, but definitely not as much as over there.
Video game characters have derived from this style. Basically, if you have never heard of anime or manga, I might assume you've been living under a rock.
Ha! Yeah, good one. Under a rock.
Quiet. It wasn't that funny. I meant it in a literal way.
Oh wait, what? I'm confused. That's not even possible.
Of course not, you dummy. I was totally kidding. Ho ho ho. Ho ho ho.
Great, the narrator's getting a sense of humor. Wow. Could you just move on to the next piece of text you're supposed to read? Yeah, stop being a smarty pants.
Ha ha ha. Okay. Fine. Have it your way. My ex-wife never thought I was funny either, but never mind. You, my therapist, my dog, you can all leave. Anyway, as Japanese culture swept across the globe, a new dawn and a new era was introduced. Modern art has replaced old art, but the way of the samurai, the warrior, and the loyal culture has not perished with it. Japan is an example of how a nation can be inspiring to artists throughout history.